Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Bob. Good morning, friends. Please come and make your way down to a seat. Get comfy. Meet someone you haven't met before. My name is Alex Kolaitzi. I'm the Director of Music here at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Miami. Good morning to everybody joining us on the live stream this morning. Please feel free to grab a candle or a chalice that you can light with us when we light the chalice a little bit later in our service. Oh, you're already here.
Yeah.
This morning, as we do every morning at UU Miami, we start our morning together with singing. We call it our soul singing, and today we are going to be singing in the Teal hymnal, number 1023, Building Bridges. We're going to sing it with a special guest. Jane Thayer is next to me, and we will be singing it as a round. It's a very simple melody. The words will be projected on the screen right over my shoulder. Please feel free to stand, embody your spirit. Come over here, Jane.
Okay.
We'll show you how it goes.
Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
Try it with us.
Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? I reach out to voices and all of our visions. With friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges, such sweet harmonies. I reach out to bridges, you reach our divisions. I reach out to you, will you reach out to visions? With friends we could make such sweet harmonies. Friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
Nice job, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to our multi-platform space here at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Miami. As a member of the Unitarian Universalist Association, we bring a liberal religious voice to the great city of Miami, a city we acknowledge that sits on the traditional land of the Tequesta, the Seminole tribe of Florida, and the Miccosukee tribe of Indians of Florida. My name is Alex Kolaitzi. I am not your worship associate today. That's Andy Arthur. You'll meet her in just a few minutes. Up on the chancel, you'll also see Joseph Taleda, our pianist, myself, Jane Thayer, who is leading us in worship today, and Andy Arthur serving as our worship associate. The reason I am here is because all of you received an email this week. I have chosen to resign from my position of music director, simply because I have a lot of stuff this year. It doesn't mean I'm going far away. Why am I getting a little bit teary? It doesn't mean I'm going far away. Carly and I are not leaving the congregation. Carly's sitting right back there. You'll see her too. It came to pass that in order for me to give as much of myself to my other jobs at University of Miami, at Miami-Dade College, at Seraphic Fire, there's a lot of stuff, plus my singing, my professional singing that all of you know that I do, it came to pass that something had to give, and you all deserve someone who can give more time and more attention to this congregation. So everybody on the live stream, if you didn't know that, now you do. Everybody sitting here, if you didn't know that, now you do. It doesn't mean I'm going far, I promise. My last Sunday is probably going to be, my last Sunday, official Sunday as music director will probably be next Sunday or the Sunday after. but the board and I are working together to make sure that we have people to shepherd us through, and maybe I'll make some appearances throughout the year. But you all know that now, and it's all good. UU Miami is a community of brave, curious, and compassionate thinkers and doers. Currently, our Sunday services are guided by the worship committee, whose purpose is to support and strengthen our shared ministry. While services will be led by voices from the Miami community and the Unitarian Universalist faith, we are also committed to nurturing and uplifting the spiritual leadership of individuals in our own congregation. We invite you to learn more about UU Miami. You can find us on social media at UUC Miami. If you haven't followed us on Instagram, Jairo does a really great job of keeping up our Instagram pages, so I highly, highly suggest that you get to follow that. And Facebook. We're also on LinkedIn. I'm getting very involved on LinkedIn now. That's the marker of like old age to me, by the way, is if I'm involved on LinkedIn. You can see all of our socials up there. We also are on YouTube. We live stream our services from there as well. We invite you to learn more about us, find us on social media, or email communications@uumiami.org for more information. If this is your first time attending our services, welcome. If you've attended our services for a couple of times, please consider becoming a member. Please talk to anybody with a yellow lanyard on. There's plenty of them around here. A lot of them have been a part of this congregation longer than I've been alive, so they know a lot about this place. Please feel free to talk to them. Andy, are you going to do the chalice lighting now? I'm going to do the chalice. Okay.
Do. All right. Let me find the chalice lighting. All right. It is our tradition to light a chalice at the beginning of our services. Our chalice lighting words are read by Reverend Scott Thayer. And I got the flame. As we light this flame, may we hear what it has to say. Come back to your center, it calls. Return to the quiet, it whispers. The quiet we long for, that longs for us. From this stillness, always a voice arises, if we let it. And please join me in our unison affirmation, first in English and then in Spanish. Please rise together in body or spirit. The words will be projected on the screen. I'll lead you in English and Joseph will lead you in Spanish. Love is the spirit of this faith, and service is its prayer. In love we agree to dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, and to help one another.
El amor es el espíritu de nuestra fe y el servicio es su oración. En amor acordamos vivir unidos en paz, buscar el conocimiento en libertad y ayudarnos el uno al otro.
All right. My name's Jane Thayer. I have dark hair pulled back, I'm white, middle-aged woman. I'm wearing a black dress, and glad to be here with all of you today. I'm going to start by sharing a story for all ages called Desmond Gets Free. And I have the book up here if you want to see it after, but I put some of the pictures up there. Desmond the mouse lived in the most beautiful meadow in all the land. Every morning, Desmond woke with the sunrise and would spend the day playing in the meadow. And every evening, Desmond would go to sleep in the middle of that meadow under the beautiful starry sky. One night, though, Desmond awoke when it was still dark out. He tried to roll over to a more comfortable spot, but something wasn't right. Desmond realized that his tail was stuck right to the ground and beginning to throb with pain. He felt behind him, and there was a huge boulder that seemed to have fallen in the middle of the meadow just on his tail. Desmond pushed on the boulder and tugged on his tail. He pushed on the boulder and tugged on his tail, and he pushed and he tugged and he pushed and he tugged, but it was no use. When he was just out of breath and just about had given up, he saw a giraffe nearby in the grass. Good news, he thought. Oh, giraffe, Desmond cried, would you please push the boulder a few inches on the other direction so that I can go free? The giraffe looked at Desmond and laughed, the way the giraffes do. Silly mouse, said the giraffe, that's no boulder, that's an elephant that's fallen asleep in the middle of the meadow just on your tail. Well, if you could just wake up the elephant and ask him to roll over a few inches in the other direction, I could go free. Well, replied the giraffe, you know what they say about letting sleeping elephants lie. I find it's best not to get involved in other animals' business. I find it's best to remain neutral at times like this. Desmond quietly replied, well, I don't appreciate your neutrality. So Desmond again pushed on the elephant and tugged on his tail. He pushed and he tugged and he pushed and he tugged, but it was no use. When he was just out of breath and had just about given up, again a gazelle wandered by. Oh, gazelle, he cried, oh, gazelle, it seems that an elephant has fallen asleep just on my tail in the middle of the meadow. It's stuck, I'm stuck, and it hurts. I wonder if you could gently wake him and ask him to roll over just a few inches on the other direction so I might go free. Well, said the gazelle, I see your problem there, but you know what they say about letting sleeping elephants lie. I find it's best not to get involved in other animals' business. I find it's best to remain neutral in times like these. Desmond replied, almost to himself this time, I do not appreciate your neutrality. Then he saw another mouse wandering the meadow. My name is Nelson. Nelson. This giant elephant has fallen asleep just on my tail in the middle of the meadow. I wonder if you might run over and call out into his giant ears and ask him to roll over just a few inches in the other direction so I can go free, Desmond asked. Of course, said Nelson. Nelson ran all the way to the other end of that giant elephant body, and he called up to those giant elephant ears at the top of the giant elephant head, but the elephant didn't budge. The elephant heard Nelson's small voice far away, but he felt too comfortable to move. Nelson ran back to Desmond, a little out of breath, and said, I have an idea, don't move. He ran off. I won't, muttered Desmond. He won't move. He's stuck under the elephant. Okay. A little while later, Nelson emerged through the tall grass, and he wasn't alone. Nelson had found 3 other mouse friends to help him, and each one of them had also brought 3 of their friends. The whole group of them ran over to the giant head of that giant elephant. One mouse scrambled up onto the shoulders of another, and another mouse scrambled up on her shoulders, and then one after another they climbed up until the whole group of them had formed a long mouse ladder right up the side of the elephant. At last, Nelson climbed up the shoulders of his mouse friends, one on top of the other, until he was way up on that giant elephant head, standing right next to the giant elephant ear. "Excuse me," he called out right into that ear. "It seems you've fallen asleep on my friend's tail in the middle of this meadow. I wonder if you could just roll over a few inches in the other direction so he might go free?" The giant elephant made a giant, low groan. "I'm comfortable where I am. Go away." Then Nelson had an idea. He whispered to the mice, and then all at once, they all yelled out together. "Excuse us. It seems you've fallen asleep on our friend's tail in the middle of this meadow. Roll over a few inches in the other direction so he can go free." This time, all those voices together, right next to the elephant's ear, were too loud to ignore. "I was comfortable where I was, but I'll move over if you just agree to stop making such a racket," the elephant cried out. And then the elephant rolled over, just a few inches in the other direction. Nelson and the other mice helped each other climb back down, and Desmond was finally free. Desmond and Nelson and all their mouse friends spent the rest of that beautiful day playing in the middle of that beautiful meadow. And this book was inspired by the quote from Archbishop Desmond Tutu: "If you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. If an elephant has its foot on the tail of a mouse and you say that you are neutral, the mouse will not appreciate your neutrality."
We will now sing the children and youth out to RE, Religious Exploration. Carla is at the back in her amazing rain boots and ready to receive you. Please feel free to sing along and stand and body your spirit as we make the youth feel welcome as they leave. May your mind be open to new learning. May your lips bring truth to the world. May your heart know love and your hands do the work of justice as you go your way in peace. As you go your way in peace.
Ooh, this is on. All right, hot mic. It is now time for us to share joys and sorrows that may be in our heart together as a community. We support everyone in their grief and in their happiness. When you come forward, if you'd like, please say your name. And remember, the service is live streamed. Anyone online can share their joys or sorrows in the chat. So feel free to come up.
Hi, I'm Judy Homer, and the sanctuary looks very different today. Here's a picture, just one picture, of the art that was on display for 10 days here. Many members mentioned that Many members mentioned what a difference it made to have a pleasing, meaningful aesthetic gracing the walls of our sanctuary. Last Friday, Charles Bishop, Jenna Way, Rick and I took down the art, packed it up, and Rick and I drove it to the next venue. And I wrote to Rosalind Banish, telling her how meaningful the experience was for me personally. And I told her that Rick and I were at a restaurant, and we spoke to our waiter, who was I asked her about voting. She wasn't registered. She was very apathetic about it. And then I talked about the issue of abortion in Florida. And then she was all in. And we set it up, and she registered to vote. I got someone to vote. I'm so pleased. Now, pardon me for taking so much time. This is a picture of my daughter in Asheville, climbing out of her house over a many downed trees. They were without water and internet and cell for so long. And other members of our congregation have wondered about Margaret McAllister, who lives in Asheville now. She's still without water. Howie and Alex are starting to recover in Brevard. And so many devastating things have happened. My daughter Megan said there were Chinook helicopters coming around all the time. There were drones, heat-seeking drones to find people, hopefully alive. It has just been absolutely devastating. And Megan and Ellen, fortunately, have the wherewithal to recover. They also have a cabin up in the woods. And the back door, right outside the deck of the cabin, fell down in a mudslide 150 feet. So that's my personal experience and news from our UU friends from Asheville. Thank you.
I'm Bob Jacober. Fortunately, this blends in with the story about the mice. Alone or together. A worker alone can do a small job or two, but anything larger requires a crew. This building we're in took the labor of dozens, but a small storage shed just took me and 2 cousins. So let's join UU Miami in helping us grow as we start here on Sunday with our tribal morning show. So we gather here together in UU unity, LGBTQ and all variety, and contribute to bettering our greater Miami community.
Good morning. I'm Bonnie Petticord. I have several joys to share. First, this is my last week of radiation, and I ring that bell on Thursday. Yippee! And hopefully cancer-free. My second joy is with the help of my home health aide. Oh, okay. It's unidirectional. Anyway, with the help of my home health aide, I got rid of a couple of cans of debris, moved my computer, and fixed a work area in which I could do my writing and drawing and painting and jewelry making. So I've been looking at that and craving that space, and this week it was mission accomplished. I also have a friend in Asheville. When I called her, she had no electricity, but she had a house generator she was using, but they had no water. I think they also have gotten their water back. Anyway, there's another storm out there that I'm concerned about. It may go that same track or something similar. So I've been standing out and making a counter wind, blowing the other way to see if I can create a little wind shear. So I would invite you to join me in that, and maybe we can knock it down a few notches. Thank you.
Good morning. CJ Weber here again. Good to see you all that braved the little bit of storm we have today to come stay as dry as you can inside. And concern I have this morning is what I saw on my Max Tracker app in the wee hours of the morning. It's going to be called Hurricane Milton, and it's going to sweep broadly across the state of Florida peninsula from west to east, which in my 56 years being on this rock, I do not remember ever seeing a storm track going that way across Florida. I hate when it's a storm unlike any we've ever seen before. So I'm just, everyone please stay as safe as you can. I've got, my stepfather has Parkinson's, and some days he's doing better than others, and my mom has her own issues. But hopefully we all come through this okay. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, I definitely wanted to mention. Oh, come on. Come on down. As John's approaching, I do have a concern or my own sorrow. I got a text early this morning that my sister was up all night with horrible stomach pain in the ER. She's pretty severely disabled, so that turns into a lot for my parents and herself also. So that's my concern today.
Good morning, all. Yes, there will be a lunch today. A friend of mine talked about eggs, and he says when the price of eggs goes down, raise more chickens. When the price of eggs goes up, raise more chickens. So there's a lot of eggs, but I don't know if there's enough for everybody, so the portions may be small. Thank you. And we also need help cooking coming future Sundays. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. For those joys and sorrows that were not expressed, and for those that were expressed, they are very much in our hearts as a community here today.
Now let's make an offering to our beloved congregation. On the screen, notice this fancy QR code. It's so pretty. You can take a picture of it and it'll take you to a link. And the link will say, donate here. And you can donate and it's super fun. You can also do this if you're online. And if you're like, I don't want to deal with this newfangled technology stuff, and you carry cash, good for you. Luigi is there with a basket for your donations in the or check, sorry. Judy truly hidden the no newfangled technology space. There is a basket that will be passed around for the cash or checks or money orders. I don't know if anyone does that, but they are coming around. And then from October to December, UU Miami will split the plate with Changeless Change, an organization that brings recovery, advocacy, and support to those negatively impacted by the criminal legal system. Let us now give an offering to sustain and strengthen this place and the work we do in the world. Thank you.
I have 3 quotes that I want to ground our meditation in today. I will speak 2 of them, and the third will be projected. The first, and I'll give some background, and then we'll go into the meditation. The first is from Rabbi Sharon Bruce and her introduction to a conversation with Standing Together from March 2023. Standing Together is an Israeli grassroots movement that aims to bring Arab Israeli and Jewish Israeli communities together. It's the largest Arab-Jewish grassroots movement in the country. And Rabbi Sharon Bruce is the founder and senior leader of ICAR. It's a leading-edge Jewish community in LA. And she also wrote an amazing book called The Amen Effect. The second reading is from See No Stranger by Valarie Kaur. It's her memoir and manifesto about her revolutionary love project. Valarie Kaur is an activist, artist, lawyer, and faith leader. So feel free to settle into your seats, take a breath, prepare your body, breathe in, breathe out. And from Rabbi Sharon Bruce, part of what it means to write a new story is that we are going to hear things we may not agree with. And in this climate where everything is black and white and right and wrong, where everything is so binary, where we have to introduce a different kind of listening, where we're able to hear and to see and to encounter ideas and people who leave us feeling not oppressed by their views, but more curious. And second, from Valarie Kaur, love is a sweet form of sweet labor. Love is a form of sweet labor. Fierce, bloody, imperfect, and life-giving. A choice we make over and over again. Love as labor can be taught, modeled, and practiced. This labor engages all our emotions. Joy is the gift of love. Grief is the price of love. Anger protects that which is loved, and when we think we have reached our limit, wonder is the act that returns us to love. Revolutionary love is the choice to labor for others, for our opponents, and for ourselves in order to transform the world around us. It begins with wonder. You are a part of me I do not yet know. It is not a formal code or prescription, but an orientation to life that is personal and political, sustained by joy. Loving only ourselves is escapism. Loving only our opponents is self-loathing. Loving only others is ineffective. All 3 practices together make love revolutionary. And revolutionary love can only be practiced in community.
Good morning. My name is Reverend D.L. Helfer, and I am taping this as part of UUJME's preparation for the Jewish High Holy Days in 2024. As a Jewish Unitarian Universalist, I usually head into these holidays, the Jewish high holidays, from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur, and there's other ritual holidays in that time frame. I enter into that time with an open heart. It's a time very rich in tradition, so focused on both community and self-examination, with spaciousness to reflect on the past year, to release fears, to make amends, and to generally make oneself good with God, however one understands God. And there's the music and the singing. It lightens my soul while filling my heart. And I feel like I wait all year for my favorite of those songs, Avinu Malkeinu. We sing it in supplication, opening our own heart in preparation for the new year. But this year, my feelings are a lot more conflictual. I haven't been in temple much in the past year. My work with Jewish Voice for Peace has made me feel unwelcome in many Jewish settings. And even where I am welcome in maybe anti-Zionist Jewish settings, or at least not explicitly Zionist settings, it's hard to get quiet with myself and be with myself when I know that others in the room are angry at me because I have a Palestine flag on my shirt, or I have a "Don't Kill in My Name" button on my jacket. And I'm not sorry for this, but it's very hard to feel spiritual in that setting. And I know I'm not alone. I'm hearing this from you Jews across the political spectrum, across the realm of understanding. And I don't offer my thoughts to center my voice because we should rightly be centering the voices of Palestinians, of those impacted by this genocide. But here today, I'm offering my voice in the hope that it offers some space for reflection. So part of the High Holy Days is something called Taslich, Taslich, if you want to look it up. It's a ritual of mourning, of casting off. Some people cast off bread or stones or birdseed into a body of moving water, letting go of things we want to leave behind in the year just concluded. Maybe anger or fear or resentment, any of the array of emotions we have experienced and perhaps do not wish to carry into this new Jewish year. And this year, I'm inviting us all into that ritual, at least a bit. I'm wondering, what are the ways you've experienced your emotions and reactions this past year, particularly around Gaza and Israel? Have you been able to hear others? Have you welcomed conversation? Have you said things you've regretted? Or have you stayed in a comfortable silence, uncomfortable, but hesitant to rock the boat? This is an opportunity. It's a season of shift, whether you're part of the Jewish tradition or not. In fall, before winter descends, so many faith traditions, including Unitarian Universalism, reminds us that this is a time to harvest both internally and externally. So please be in these questions with us. For me, I know it's a hard season of excavation this year. I am heartened by our faith tradition's movement this year of passing the Action for Immediate Witness Solidarity with Palestinians at this year's General Assembly. And I'm so unbelievably grateful for those doing the quiet and continuous and unappreciated work of advocacy, both, within our faith tradition and within the larger world. And I'm horrified and I'm broken by the genocide that continues to unfold in Gaza, and even more now in the West Bank, or also now in the West Bank, at Israel's hands, with this country's provision of the bombs and the money to do so. I struggle now as a Unitarian Universalist in a way that I haven't And like others, I considered leaving for a time. For months I asked, where were the faith voices mourning the loss of Palestinian life? Of course, I mourned the loss of life, and I do mourn the loss of life that happened on October 7th. And also, Palestinians have been losing their lives at the hands of Israelis from before I was alive, and continue to do so. October 7th was a terrible day, but there are many, many terrible days with loss of life in that region. What I know we can agree on is that we want this to end. But I've been shaking my metaphorical hand at God for months, yelling internally, not at some white bearded man in the sky, and not that I feel anyone else is responsible for this, but I'm looking, like so many others, for ways to listen better, do better, and help shift this horror. And so I came back to the call of faith community. I found my way back to Unitarian Universalism, where we learn together, where we grieve together, and sometimes we find new ways to be in the world together. Excuse me. These are the questions I carry into the High Holy Days this year. I don't yet know where I'll go to temple, but I will, somewhere. Because as much as this is a personal heart journey, the act of doing this in community is absolutely essential. So I invite you, join me, join Jews around the world in examining our beliefs, our actions, and asking ourselves and our community how to best align the call of our hearts and our values, and to take that into the world. May it be so, and blessed be.
So I wanted to start with this video, mainly to bring in a voice of an actual UU minister speaking on the topic. Reverend Halfer was also the main proposer of the Action of Immediate Witness, Solidarity with Palestinians, which I'll talk about in a second. And you could see them grappling with their feelings as we approach 1 year since the violence in Israel, which prompted the last year of fighting between Israel and Gaza, and is now escalating among other countries in the Middle East. I also wanted to share this voice because some of the sentiments of belonging they expressed align with feelings that I've had over the past year. And if we want to be somewhat humorous about it, and refer back to the elephant in the story, draw connections, Palestine and Israel are the elephant in the chalice here in UU congregations across the country. I just thought that was sort of funny and cute, and I already talked about an elephant today. So the elephant in the chalice, at the Unitarian Universalist Association General Assembly in June, an Action of Immediate Witness, or AIW, as I'll refer to it, called Solidarity with Palestinians was proposed. The general criteria for an AIW are that it requires an urgent response when adopted through democratic vote, details specific actions congregations can take, connects to UU values, and is written in an inclusive and anti-oppressive format. And a few weeks ago, Jessica was speaking about the UU values and noted that congregations, so the UUA is not the Unitarian Universalist Association is not doesn't govern individual congregations. Every congregation has its own covenant and its own autonomy, but it is a way to sort of connect and collect more globally. Some examples of past AIWs include Rise Up to Stop Cop City, Protect the Dreamers, the recipients of deferred action for childhood arrival, and a pathway to permanent residence. We Do Not Consent, rejecting legal challenges to abortion. Defend and advocate with transgender, non-binary, and intersex communities. And you can imagine that many of these previous AIWs had more consensus, But the suggestion that UU should declare solidarity with Palestinians was a painful conversation for many people at the General Assembly. Safe spaces were created for different identities due to open forum debate. Some questioned if there was a space for them in the Unitarian faith, like Reverend Halfer, based on how their vote proceeded. And a 73.5 majority vote affirmed the AIW. But what that number tells us is that many either abstained from the vote or voted against adopting the AIW. And while I can't really imagine a time when UUs at large can reach a full consensus, this does show that while many UUs supported the AIW, some did not. And I am sure that that may be the case for us here in this community, covenanted together at UU Miami. And at the same time, I was grappling with what to do with my feelings as I watched the devastation in Gaza, homes, businesses, schools, hospitals, infrastructure, religious and cultural institutions, and so many people gone. And the living terrorized through displacement and bombing and starvation. I didn't know what to do. I'm not a prayer, but outside of the small actions that I took, calling my legislators to push for ceasefire and arms embargoes, donating to organizations providing relief to sick and injured people in Gaza, talking about it amongst friends and family, I didn't know what else I could do but pray. And where do I do that? Church. Or anywhere, but church. I felt trepidation as I brought the Solidarity with Palestinians, AIW, to the Social Justice Committee. I don't know how people in our community feel about the conflict. And the very last thing I want to do is inflict any pain or hurt on anyone in our community. But I also need to be in community with folks around the issue, to be able to grieve and witness and act in community with like-minded individuals and in community with non-like-minded individuals who can share their perspective as we engage in deep listening together around stories of oppression and aggression and cultural preservation and survival. Together, embracing our UU values, covenant, and community, we can face hard things and questions that are not solvable among us, but can inform how we live our lives, fight for justice, and imagine. Together, we can imagine a new story, a world of peace and siblinghood that could become a reality if we do the work and labor in love. And so I am here in full faith to witness with you, knowing that the love in my heart, the revolutionary love that Valarie Kaur speaks of, can only be practiced in community. So the action of immediate witness, what does it say? What does it require of us to act and witness on behalf of solidarity with Palestinians? I was going to read it. Maybe I'll read just a little bit so we can get an idea. There are copies in the back that are printed if anyone wants to read the words that were voted in over the summer. So it all really ties together. But it starts with, our Unitarian Universalist faith draws on the moral imperative of radical love, and despite all odds, calls us to uphold a world where liberation is real and we all thrive. Our faith community has long recognized the horrors of violent anti-Semitism against generations of Jewish people, and we reaffirm our commitment to their safety. Our support for Jewish well-being was never meant to undermine the rights and lands of Palestinian people. We seek a world where our Palestinian and Jewish kin are safe. We believe that until Palestinians are free, none of us is free. We decry the violence on October 7th. And we further acknowledge that we cannot possibly contextualize all that led to this point, but note that Israel's occupation and repression in Gaza has been decades long. It continues on to talk about some of the history, talk about some of the human rights issues, talks about sections of the UU organizations that support ending military aid. It talks about other conflicts in the world, in Sudan, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Ethiopia, saying that these conflicts are also not okay. It talks about the Apartheid-Free Communities Solidarity Initiative, and finally ends in, resolved, we, the delegates of the 2024 General Assembly, call on our UU congregations and communities to be in solidarity with Palestinians by engaging in the following actions: witnessing, calling for the liberation of Palestine and an end to apartheid, calling for an immediate ceasefire, educating, holding teach-ins about Palestine and Israel that include sacred spaces for spiritual processing, and organizing and advocating, engaging with Palestinian-led groups and coalitions, signing and amplifying the Apartheid-Free Communities Pledge, and so on. It asks us to witness, educate, organize, and advocate. And what does this mean for us to witness? Well, I'd like to go back to Reverend Helfer's final urging. It starts with listening to our hearts and figuring out how we can best align the call of our hearts and our values and taking that into the world. This is what I'm referring to as the whisper of witnessing. My heart calling me to learn and act is so easily shushed by my privilege that sometimes it's only a whisper that gets through. Look, feel, witness. And that whisper is hard to hear. It's painful and frustrating that oppression can be so prevalent and freedom so elusive. I can turn the volume down real quick because I know that examining the conflict too much will show me where my responsibility lies. No one is free until we are all free. And perhaps I need to give myself more grace here, which is why I come here to speak today. The leaders and activists I've looked to all tell us that the labor of love must happen in community. As a community, we can remind each other of our ultimate goals of peace and love, hold each other up, give each other grace one may not give oneself. It makes me think of staggered breathing in choral singing and the deep listening needed to maintain group momentum during the sustained notes. You take your breath and your neighbor hears, you breathe and continues to support the sound. You sing again, giving them a breath. The sound doesn't stop. Our work doesn't stop. We must listen deeply to our hearts, our opponents' hearts, the loving and beautiful heart of our community. Things are not getting worse. They are getting uncovered, and we must hold each other tight and continue to pull back the veil. That was the quote that was projected from Adrienne Marie Brown. Thank you.
Our closing hymn today is in the gray hymnal, number 323, Break Not the Circle. We will sing all of the verses. They are projected over my shoulder. Please feel free to stand and body your spirit and join in the singing. Break not the circle of enabling love, where people grow forgiven and forgiving. Break not that circle, make it wider still, till it includes, embraces all the living. Come wander at Join then the movement of the love that frees, till people of whatever race or nation will truly be themselves, stand on their feet, see eye to eye with laughter and elation.
Thank you so much, Jane, for that. And yes, and Shana Tova, Happy New Year. And we wish for a meaningful good fast on Yom Kippur for those who are celebrating or honoring. Thanks to all the professional and volunteer staff, our church board, our committees, our business manager, Cheryl, Hyro, our communications director, Kat, our Sunday assistant, who is back there helping out John making the lunch. Thanks to CJ, who did greeting today. Jessica for guiding our children and youth, and Carla, who took them back today and might be also doing the guiding today. Derek, who is running our live stream. Joseph, who is accompanying our hymns and providing wonderful music. Alex for leading our hymns and our musical direction. And since you just announced that you're leaving, I'm just saying thank you for all you have done. You have been such an awesome and wondrous presence to have here, and I have loved working with you on worship. Like, you're awesome. I love you. And then thank you, Jane. Like, that had to have been a lot and emotionally exhausting, and like, let's just honor all of the heart that went into that. Next week, we will have a guest minister with us. Reverend Dr. Catherine Cullen will give a sermon titled Listening to Your Life. The poet Mary Oliver reminds us that we are each given only one wild and precious life. How can we use the practice of deep listening to uncover the life that wants to live with us, live in us? As for today, please join us for lunch after the service. Thanks to John and his eggs and the chickens and his chicken parable. We encourage a $5 donation, but if this is your first time joining us, or you don't have $5 right now, please just, stay and be our guest. Stay and chat with the folks here while enjoying a nourishing and delicious community lunch of eggs. Yes, I'm very excited. I'm like, are they scrambled? Are they fried? I'm like, what is going on? I don't know. Ooh. Omelets?
Well, soon you'll find out.
Exactly. Soon I will find out. I'm very excited. Also, today we have social justice in the Emerson room. The meeting will consist of a PACT listening session. PACT is People Acting in Community Together, a powerful network of faith-based organizations united to effect serious community change. They're doing a lot of really cool stuff around housing affordability here in Miami-Dade. It's great. Their actions come from listening to grassroots community voices. So go, make sure your voice is heard. And take change, like the first step in creating change in your community. And then our worship committee meeting is on Thursday, October 10th at 6:30 on Zoom. Just email the amazing Jane at worship@UUMiami to join. And of course, you can find out this info and more in your weekly email newsletter or on our website. Hyro puts a lot of effort putting those things together and making them look pretty, so read them, find out what's going on. Thank you for your attention to our special events in our community. And I invite Jane back up here for closing words.
Okay, I'm going to sneak these in before you're like, stop talking. I meant to have a list of resources, books, podcasts, Instagram accounts, news articles I've been reading and following around the Israel and Palestinian conflict, Israel and Palestine conflict to share. I didn't get it together for this morning, but I can, and some of these resources are really beautiful. The Amen Effect is separate. That's a great book. So if you're interested, come to me. I can email you my list. If anyone wants space to speak openly without judgment today, we can gather together after the service as well. The Social Justice Committee is spending time with this topic and considering how best our congregation can participate in supporting the AIW. And in the spring, new AIWs will be proposed to be voted on at the General Assembly. And I hope to have conversations in advance so we can engage in the civil discourse necessary to approach these other important social justice issues that are being considered by our community nationally at large, internationally. And to end, I agree with the Unitarian Universalist Justice in the Middle East organizers and the UUA president, Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt, when they all say that we should not turn away from the situation. Better understanding will empower Unitarian Universalists to align better with our aspiration to be a liberatory faith. Increased engagement can involve us more consistently in dismantling racism and other oppressions, as well as in building a stronger, beloved community. Learning to embrace conflict around understanding can be a blessing of individual and congregational growth. Thank you, everyone. I now invite you to stand, greet those around you, particularly folks you don't know. Let us deepen our connections in this beloved community. Thank you.